My name is Steve Frank. Most of you know me from the California Political News and Views, working on Rhonda's campaign and numerous campaigns over the past 50 years. This is a great day in America. Donald Trump is still president, and we have 662 more days to re-elect him. Now, my first political speech was for Richard Nixon running for governor in 1962. And the guy that taught me how to speak to political groups, it was a Women's Federated club, and he said, you have to understand Women's Fed. If you understand the 5 W's of politics, you'll go far. When women work, we win. So I have been speaking for the last 55 years around the state to Women's Federated clubs, CRA clubs, central committees, any club that wants to hear the truth. Now let me put it very bluntly. I believe in the words of Harry Truman. I don't give them hell. I just tell the truth and they think it's hell. And since I've been involved so long, let me tell you, my wife could tell you exactly what I'm about to say. I am way too old to be subtle. I believe we need an aggressive Republican Party, which we don't have. I have served 8 years as parliamentarian of the state party. I've been elected to the board of directors of the state party. I have been involved with putting together the bylaws of 12 different counties, and over the years I've been the parliamentarian for 14 counties around the state. I've worked for campaigns from San Diego to Del Norte. I know the difference between Yreka and Eureka. If you run for a statewide office, I will ask you, what is the difference between Eureka and Yreka? Not just that Yreka is in Siskiyou, Eureka is in Humboldt. The difference is, Yreka, everyone has a gun, and in Eureka, everyone is high. You have to understand the culture, tradition, and politics of each county if you're going to win. County by county is different. I've lived here in Ventura County for the last 30 years. I love going to Santa Barbara. They are different than us. Not in a bad way or a good way. They're different, and when I do campaigns in Santa Barbara, I have to understand those differences if I want my candidates to win. Now, let's get real. Like an addict, before we can fix our problems, we need to be able to admit our problems. In January of 2013, we had 1 million more registrants than declined to state. In October of 2018, there were 700,000 more declined to state than Republicans, a turnover of 1.7 million. So when you ask why we got our heads handed to us, it's because we didn't do any voter registration in that time. How much money did the state party spend from March of 2013 to today for voter registration? 0. Remember the bounty program? Women's Fed used it all over the state to help raise money for themselves and getting voters for their candidates. Gone. We have not done voter registration. How do you expect to win if you don't have people registered to vote for you? In 2016, we had 24 legislative offices, Assembly, State, Senate, and Congress, without a Republican on the November ballot. In 2018, we had 41 seats out of 153 without a Republican on the ballot. How do you win elections if you don't even have candidates? And who is responsible for the candidates? That's the problem. We have no one taking that responsibility. The CRP, the caucuses, they're to take responsibility. Now it's up to us on the grassroots level to do that. It's important that we do that. Let me ask you this. We all just came through the 2018 election. Can anybody tell me what the Republican message was statewide to get Republicans to vote for the Republican Party? You're right. There was none. The responsibility, the chief responsibility of the chair of the state party is to be the spokesman for the party. We didn't have that. I do 8 to 9 radio shows a week. I know I live in Simi Valley, but I am the chief whistleblower for KSFO Radio in San Francisco, 6:45 every Wednesday morning. April will be 9 years I'm doing it. I do 8 to 9 radio shows a week. I do more radio shows in 1 month than the entire board of directors of the CRP does in a year. That's crazy. That's wrong. How do you expect the general public to hear what we stand for, our values and principles, if we don't speak out, if we are afraid to speak out? Why aren't we on radio? Why aren't we on TV? I had heard a rumor, and I'm one of those people that like to check out rumors before you go further with them. So I called Mr. Osborne, chairman of the County Chairmen's Association, besides being the chairman of our Ventura County Central Committee. And I had heard a rumor that he had said there are approximately 25 out of 58 county central committees that are non-operative. Some meet, some don't meet, but they really are not operative. Some have only one member, and then they appoint all the other members. And I called Mike, I think it was a week ago Monday. I spoke to Mike to confirm the rumor, and he did. He said there are over 20 county committees. Where's the leadership from the CRP? We need that leadership. One of the things I have done is put in a bylaw amendment to make every county central committee member who wishes to be automatically a member of the state party. We need the counties working with the party together. We need to expand the base of the party. About 8 years ago, we had a little under 1,800 members of the state party. This last cycle, we had 1,430 members of the state party. And in the latest document from the CEO, Cynthia Bryant, it looks like we will have 1,068 members of the state party. Not only don't we have candidates, don't we have registrants, we have a problem with the number of people who are members of the state party. We need to expand that. But we also need every one of them to attend our conventions instead of having 40 to 55% of all the votes at a convention are cast not by people who go to the convention, pay for transportation, pay for housing, pay for registration, pay for food, but by proxy. 40 to 55% of the votes. No people there, no warm bodies, no people to participate. We are in a debacle. Let's get real. The 2020 election may be the last election where the Republican Party is a relevant party in the state of California. Even today, we are a regional party. I want you to think about the congressional delegation and think about the California coast from San Diego to the Oregon border. Not one Republican representing any of that territory. Why aren't we doing something different? I have demanded of the State Board of Directors that instead of having a fun convention, a lot of parties, a lot of bylaw meetings and resolution, who cares what resolutions are passed? Let's get serious. Instead, I've asked for a business meeting, and I have 14 committees that I'd like to meet: voter registration, absentee ballot harvesting, legal, communications, 14 different committees, so we can begin the process of rebuilding the party. I went to the board meeting in San Diego, the last board meeting they held. The chairman had announced he received the document from me. You know what the board of directors said about the idea? I think Mike was there. In fact, Mike was sitting right in front of me at the meeting in San Diego. The board said nothing, didn't even acknowledge it. The chairman acknowledged there was a letter, and that was it. We need an activist board that will represent the 4.7 million Republicans of California. Somebody mentioned before the Election Integrity Project California. I've been working with them since 2010. Gloria, I'm always glad working with you, and I was with Ruth Weiss and Linda Payne Sunday night in Fountain Valley speaking to Eagle Forum in regard to the latest settlement. We have been told as leaders, and I will quote the chairman, Mr. Brulte, there's no voter fraud in California. I'm just quoting him. I'm not making, so let's see. Let's see if I understand this. On the day of the election, November 6th, the district attorney of LA County, a Democrat, arrested 9 people in downtown Los Angeles for paying the homeless $1 and a pack of cigarettes to put in over 800 phony ballots. A federal court settlement showed that LA County has 1.5 million people on the registration rolls that shouldn't be. Do you know what's wrong with that number, Gloria? It doesn't say how many of those 1.5 actually voted. We don't know that yet. There is voter fraud in California. Now, Gloria, I love the work you do. I love the work of the state organization, but it's not your responsibility. It's the responsibility of the state Republican Party to do these things, and the Republican Party has done nothing. It took a private organization to bring lawsuit, not the state party. How bad is it? You've all heard about absentee voting, and I know I'm running for chair of the California Republican Party, but let me tell you about the Democrat Party of North Carolina. And the California Republican Party needs to be more like them. There was an election in November. A Republican by name of, incumbent Republican by the name of McCready won election. And when you win election, you get sworn in, right? Not due to the North Carolina Democrat Party. They went to federal court and stopped his being seated. Why? Because he used ballot harvesting. And what was the issue? Rhonda, you're an attorney. Chain of custody. When they took the ballots, there's no proof, they put in the ballots to the registrar of voters. In Orange County alone, we don't know statewide yet, but in Orange County alone, there were 250,000 ballots harvested. And you know we took a bath in Orange County, right? The LA Times, and I hate using them as my source, but the LA Times did an expose that it was the Democrats and the unions that did that. But you have to ask the better question. Who were the foot soldiers that collected the absentee ballots? And according to the LA Times, it was illegal aliens. Now, I've sent a letter to the board of directors of the CRP suggesting to them they may want to send a letter to the Department of Justice asking for a civil rights investigation of the situation that they need to be speaking to, that they should be writing to the clerk of the House and the Speaker of the House demanding that the 7 Democrats elected from California be suspended until there's an investigation whether all the ballots collected by ballot harvesting was actually submitted. Now, in North Carolina, the Democrat Party did the right thing. They asked the simple question, what about the chain of custody? Why aren't we asking the same thing? We have, as a party, significant problems. Let me talk about 3 of them. First of all, as I mentioned before, 40 to 55% of all the votes cast at Republican conventions are cast by people who aren't even there. And so we need to change those rules. One of my opponents is one of those who's been collecting all of those proxies and taking away the ability of those who actually participate by going to a convention to have their say. That has to be changed. I and Harmeet Dillon, the National Committee woman, have provided numerous bylaw changes to fix the problem. Neither of my opponents ever supported a single one of them. Then we have the second one. We have money problems. Let me explain the money problem. At the recent Board of Directors meeting and Executive Committee meeting of the State Board, Chairman Brulte said that the state party raised $34 million. $34 million. Look what we got for our $34 million. We didn't even get a T-shirt. But then he went on to say that the Texas Republican Party, they only raised a measly $6 million. Now let's see. Texas has 2 Republican senators, every constitutional office. They control the House of Representatives, their version of the Assembly. They control the state Senate, and they did that for $6 million. Maybe it's the way we spend our money that is the problem, not the raising of the money. Oh, by the way, the Texas Republican Party, they register voters. Maybe that has something to do with it. Let me remind you that we are a regional party at this point, but we need to revive the party. We need somebody as chair that will be both the spokesperson and the person behind the scene who's working the operations of the party. You need both a show horse and a workhorse as your chair. That is what is needed. And my unique background and experience is both. I'm both in communications. Many of you talked to me before the lunch began about reading my California political news and views. And certainly all of you have heard me on the hustings in one time or another. And of course, Wednesday night, I'll be speaking at the Channel Islands Women's Federated Club. I will be a disruptor as chairman of the Republican Party. I will make sure we have leadership there. And let me show you what you need. Everybody take out your paper, your thing, your phone. My phone number is 805-795-1271. You should not have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody to call the chairman of the Republican Party of California. Now, it is true, I live over in Simi Valley, not far from here. I think my GPS said it was 17 minutes from my house to here. My phone is on, as my wife can attest, 24/7, and I get calls, as Rhonda knows, any time of day or night. Doesn't matter. I want to hear from people. I believe the chair should be in touch with all the people who we represent. And that is where leadership starts. Thank you very much. I ask for your vote.